Hello, everyone. My name is Joe, and I'm a freelance motion designer and a 3D artist. I've been working in the entertainment industry for more than 10 years, and I'm very excited to be with you here in this NVIDIA Studio session. In the course of the upcoming videos, we'll be discussing how to create this sci-fi industrial look. We'll be discussing how to pose our models, kit bash our 3D assets, block our scene, how to give this large scale environment look, and how can we light and texture our environment. Then we'll discuss some simple animation techniques, some render settings. We'll also take a look on how to export render passes, export them and bring them back into After Effects so we can composite them together so we can create this nice looking cinematic, moody, atmospheric look. So sit back and enjoy, and I hope you enjoy the ride. So one of the most important steps before starting working on any creative process is gathering some references. And as you see here, I've opened Pinterest and like typed like some really quick keywords such as like big robots, sci-fi, cyborgs, mechs, and all these like matching keywords to give these desired references. And after like scrolling for a while, I started to like feed my brain with like some visual information to start have like guidance and some mentorship on how like I'll be creating my animation. So to break down like this reference and like most of like these similar references, they have like some similar elements in common. So we can easily see that there is a relationship between big and small elements, or like large and small, like a contrast between the foreground and the background. So like this contrast is what sells the effect of having the feel of large gigantic environments. So we can actually see here that there is a large robot in the midground and a small human figure in the foreground. The contrast between the human figure and the robot is what sells the effect of having a huge environment. So if we took a quick reference or a quick look at this reference, we'd see people using the same technique of having a human figure and a huge robot in his composition. But if we like try to exclude like this human figure from the composition, our eyes and brain would have like a little bit of a hard time to identify what is the scale of like this shot or like this composition. Also, let's take a look at this reference. We'd also see we're having a couple of like small human figures and this huge robot, and the contrast between the human figure and the robot is what gives the effect or what sells the effect of having large environments. Okay, let's get started. So as you can see here, we're inside Cinema 4D. We'll be mainly using Cinema 4D and Octane for the upcoming videos. The reason I'm choosing Octane because it harnesses NVIDIA's RTX technology that allow us to have instant live rendering feedback, which allow us to have creative decisions on the fly. So as you can see here, I have my project set up, which is the final result, of course. We'll try to break it down as much as possible and rebuild the main elements that can get you started um, to create similar project with these vibes. So we have, as you can see here, multiple groups for this project setup. We have, of course, our lightings and cameras and environment. So we'll just like turn it off for the fly. We'll change our shading to constant shading so we can easily view our project. Then I have three main groups. One that's called environment, which has all our structures or walls or pipelines and all the main components that design our project. I'll simply turn it off. And we have our midground elements, which are just like special components carefully picked from the Kitbash Secret Lab assets. And we have our mech, which was designed and posed from NVIDIA Studio. I'll turn it off. And we have our main character, which I simply brought up from Miximo's website, and it's simply animated, as you can see. So I'll also turn it off, and I have just like really two, as you can see, approximately 14,000 by 14,000 plane. I have this plane and this plane, just like scaled, largely scaled, as you can see. And I have a simple texture applied to it, which we'll be carefully discussing later. As you can see here, the camera is carefully positioned at a very lower angle with a focal length of 65, which is very important to give this sense of depth. And as you can see here, as our camera moves through our objects, our main character, and our big robot, it creates this illusion of, or the selling effect of large scale, which identifies as parallax. So basically, parallax is you have a lot of objects you're seeing, as we discussed before, some big, largely scaled objects at the background, some mid-ground, medium-sized objects, and basically our small character, as you can see here in the middle of the screen, which is our foreground. And as the camera flies through them, it creates this parallax effect. Okay, so let's try to quickly jump inside of NVIDIA Studio so we can actually see how would we create our main character. So inside NVIDIA Studio, as you can see, NVIDIA is a very powerful 3D software that allows you to create your main hero objects and easily pose them very quickly. So let's see, we have like this basic free human character you can easily get when you download and install the software. One of the powerful features that have is that it allows you to easily pose your character because they're pre-rigged and pre-weighted. So it's very easy to pose your character with different poses. And also it comes, as I believe, with a built-in like cloth system that you can easily apply basic cloth to your model, and they can instantly update based on the new poses you choose to them. But I'll simply delete this one, and I'll use a 3D model that I bought from their store, which is this nice looking robot or spacesuit, whatever you can call it. And as you can see, it defaults to an A pose, which comes with a pre-built poses specifically for this setup. And as you can see, I can easily repose my model without having to go through tons of controllers, tons of rigs, waiting, which is really good, and an instant feedback that allows you to make adjustment to your models quickly and easily. And let's say you like the setup, you can easily like select this arm. You can have some nice controllers such as bend, twist. Let's say you want to change the posing of this arm, you can easily select it, bend, twist. So it can allow you to make like very nice adjustments on the fly without being an expert in character rigging and creating joints and bones and all these advanced character stuff. So I simply selected this pose because it represents an idle pose that would fit my design. So I just like double clicked it, select the model, double click, and I have my pose. Once I'm happy with it, it's just a matter of like file, export, and making sure I chose OBJ. I named it robot. And then I made sure to have these settings so importing the materials in the future won't be a problem, because sometimes the materials on export doesn't import fully with normals, reflections, and bump and all that stuff. So I make sure I'm selecting original, deleting or unchecking code paths, and write material is checked. And I just hit accept. Then I head back to Cinema 4D. Let's create a new file quickly. And then I go File, Merge, Robot. I make sure my scale is set to meter because sometimes it's default to centimeters. So meter is the idle option when you're importing DAS models. I hit OK. And as you can see, I have my robot imported. So I'll simply copy it, go inside my main scene. I'll hide everything. I'll hide my environment, my background, my mech, my character, and I'll switch to an Octane layout that I've created before, which allows me to work with Octane and the viewport at the same time, so I can have an exact estimation how my final render is going to look like. I'll paste my mech, head out of my camera, and then fire up Octane. It's going to take a couple of minutes. So as you can see, I have Octane fired up. This is the default settings that you can have. I'll just simply turn off everything related to lights so I can be with the basic settings. As you can see, the viewport is very responsive. And this is the beauty of Octane, is that you can have instant feedbacks on the fly due to the power of the RTX technology inside my 3090. So I'll just simply press Shift-C and type Octane Taillight. And it's just a quick sun that I added inside my scene, which gives me instant lighting feedback and all that stuff. Okay, so creating large scale environments can get a little bit tricky. So I usually like to start with the contrast between the main character and my small human figure. So I'll simply create this little dude inside my project, hit the move tool, and just simply push it backwards, as you can see here. And I have my two large created planes. Let's just delete the materials because this is a future part. So I'll take my mech, select my mech, hit the scale tool, and just keep scaling it upwards, as you can see. Then I'll create a camera, Octane, camera. I'll look through the camera. And one of the most important settings when you want to emphasize scale and emphasize the parallax effect inside your project is using a bigger focal length rather than the default 35mm lens that delivers with Cinema 4D. So we'll just type 65, which is similar to our final camera. And I'll just hit 65mm and then try to pose. Let's just turn some lines. Pose our model into this scale. And as you can see, the viewport is responsive. I'll just lock the ratio so I have a final ratio, as you can see here, similar to my final render, and just zoom out from my live viewer a little bit. I'll try to center my camera, so I'll just zero out this, zero out this, and I'll just reveal my mech a little bit quickly so I can easily adjust the posing of my model similar to the final mech I have so we can have closer result. I'll click this button, which unchecks my camera. Then I can easily go out this camera and easily navigate without changing this view perspective. So it's going to be maybe pushed down a little bit, as you can see. I rotate this one a little bit because if I look to my final character, it was rotated a little bit, so it can give the illusion of it's looking a little bit aggressive rather than if it looks just flat from this side. So I just like rotate it a little bit to this side. Let me hide this a little bit. Oops. I just rotate to this side because, you know, if you pose yourself a little bit to the profile, it's gonna make you look a little bit aggressive. So as you can see here, I'm gonna push backwards with my camera. I created and push this one back. Let me uncheck my y-axis. I created some nice contrast between my big robot and my small human, and just rotating it a little bit to the side, I think it sells the effect that it's aggressive, it's angry, it's powerful, it's strong, rather than having it laying down to the flat on this side. There you go. So since I'm happy with this pose, I'm gonna just like turn it off and turn back my main mech on. So it's similar. Of course, we go forward with lighting and textures and materials, so it looks better rather than the flat look it comes with it. But yeah, as you can see in my final look, it's similar in size. Maybe I just pushed it down a little bit on the y-axis, so I'm just like maybe push it down. It's just like tweaking forward and backward between posing your model, so I'll just like pose it down. Okay, so I have my mech, my small character. Let's start looking through the environment. So basically the environment, as you can see, it plays a big role on how we pose or define the look and feel of our scene. Maybe it doesn't have to be like super perfect, because you can only just like focus on what the camera is looking through. As you can see here, we have like small flying gaps. We have missing elements. Of course, it's covered by our background, as you can see. So yeah, I have this file, which are hand-picked models from the Jama Jarbeef pack, the industrial pack, which I just like handfully picked. I think it's gonna be like a great help with details and all these pipes and ladders and stairs. Is gonna add like a lot of the depth to our scene. So let's get back to our main file and slowly break down our environment. So I have my environment here unhidden. It's basically divided into multiple groups. So let's see how we can easily build them. So I think I started with this model because it's has like this long bridge look and has some towers and cylinders and stairs to it. So if I look back through my camera from this point, and having a fixed camera can help a lot building your scene. Let's render back again. And as you can see, I have my bridge with stairs and pipes. The viewport is very responsive. It's adding some nice sense of depth and scale. Then, I think as I believed, I duplicated it one more time, as you can see. So it's as simple as I just control and drag on the x-axis, as you can see, then hit the scale tool, scale it down. So I think I've duplicated it one more time to give this like narrow, tunnely, like factory look that the robot is like carefully waiting inside of it. So if I go back to my camera, as you can see, we have some details on the right, some details on the left. I'll uncheck my camera again. And as you can see, I've created like this like hole or like some sort of like gap so that the robot can go below it or like beneath it, so it gives more depth to the scene. And these like simple two planes, as I said, are added. So it's a matter of just carefully like positioning your items. As you can see here, we have also like, and again, more factory items. So if I go back to my camera, you can see here, I've created a nice dramatic industrial sci-fi look. And if I moved forward with my camera a little bit, you can see that I am having a lot of depth here with the character and the items. But as you can see here, the ratio is only between big and small. So I'm having like this really small character and these huge factory items or factory 3D models. So it's not giving me enough the sense of scale. That's why I added some mid-ground objects, as you can see here from Kitbash 3D. And as you can see here, they're just like lying around. Some of these items, as you can see them, they're like nicely detailed, nicely textured. These medium-sized objects, if I go back to my camera, would give more sense of depth, because as you see here, I'm flying, or I'm emphasizing the parallax effect between my small character, my big robot, and big environments, as you can see, and creating medium-sized items such as the factory items or the secret lab items from Kitbash 3D can push your project to the next level. So I hope you enjoyed this part so much. Please consider subscribing if you didn't subscribe, and we'll see you in the next part. Thank you.